He was gonna call me a homosexual.
Did you go to see him? What if the police say you ran because you killed him?
Orlin planned to bring up a part of her life she'd long since buried, Tony.
Emily Burke, the high school swinger.
Didn't happen like that at all.
But were they lies? There are too many people that have been hurt by you and people like you.
Our talk is over.
Have time for a drink? Maybe a fast one. I don't to promise. We won't bother Mark, will we?
Oh, no, he's in there writing, I'm sure.
Oh. Oh, my God. Mark? Mark?
Well, honey, if Mr. Hertzberg calls, tell him in Alaska, huh?
What if he asks why?
Tell him the Finnegan News come out. Hey, Kelly, how you doing?
Don't ask.
What's wrong?
Bills, inflation, gas prices going up. He asks if something's wrong.
Yeah, well, I know what you mean. Hey, wait a second. How come there's only a half a case this week? You're supposed to deliver us 2 cases a week.
That's all I've got. The root beer company's folding.
The what? Hey, wait a second. I've been drinking that root beer since I was 3 years old. Nobody makes root beer like they do.
What can I tell you? I get the notice, the inventory's low, so that's all they sent.
Okay, well, how much do I owe you?
$4.
$4. Give a bill to bookkeeper, please.
Thank you.
$4. Huh? Yeah, perfect. Thank you.
Sorry, Tony.
That's not your fault. I don't understand. It must be some kind of a mistake. I mean, that company's been in business for 40 years.
Tony, there are other root beers.
Not like that. Honey, it's in a class by itself.
Do you know what you are, Tony Petrocelli? You are a root beer snob.
Honey, I am a thirsty snob. I'll see you later.
Petrocelli? I just missed at your office. Your wife said I might catch you here. I saw your camper.
Yeah, well, yeah.
My name's Roy Burke. Mr. Petrocelli, my wife's been arrested for murder.
Well, when was that?
Last night. We don't have a lawyer. Somebody told me about you.
Well, who did they say she killed?
Mark Orland.
The writer?
Yes. She was apparently at his house when he was shot yesterday afternoon.
Why?
Why what?
I mean, why was she there? What's the connection between them?
Well, she went to school with him. Of course, that was a long time ago.
Where's that?
Here. They both grew up here. Look, Mr. Petrocelli, I don't know much about this whole thing. I do know she's in jail now. I know she couldn't have hurt him. Please, could you talk to her? I know what she must be going through.
Yeah, I know. It's never very pleasant. Okay, I'll talk to her. Have you had a chance to see her yet? Okay, I'll arrange for you to do that, huh?
Thank you.
I'll be in touch. Hi, Mrs. Berg.
Yes.
I'm Tony Petrocelli. I'm an attorney. Your husband asked me to see you.
Is he all right? The children all right?
Well, he's a little worried, but that's only natural.
Mr. Petrocelli, I just don't understand what's happening here.
Well, you've been arrested for killing Mark Orland.
But I don't understand why.
Won't you sit down? Look, the police seem to think they have a reason. Now, do you know what that reason might be?
Well, I was there when he was shot. And I panicked and I ran away. But I didn't do it.
Now, your husband told me you knew Mark Orland from years ago. Is that why you were there?
Yes, sort of. I knew Mark pretty well. We went together for a while. We were just kids. And then he moved away, and I stayed on here in San Remo. I guess we both ended up doing what we wanted.
Oh, what do you mean?
Well, he wanted to be a writer, and he was terribly successful.
And you?
I wanted a husband and children. And I got exactly what I wanted. Anyway, after all this time, yesterday morning, out of the blue, Mark called me. He said he was back in San Remo, that he was going to do a book about growing up in the Southwest.
What did he want you to do?
He wanted to talk over old times, the people we knew. He wanted me to refresh his memory. I guess I was flattered. His books have been on the bestseller list every year.
Mm-hmm. So you went to see him?
He said he'd be working all afternoon for me to just drop by.
He told me he worked in the back of the house. And if no one answered, I was just to go on in.
Mark?
I called out for him several times.
Mark?
He just didn't answer, so I kept looking. Just as I got to the study, I heard a shot. And when I got all the way into the study, I saw him. I saw Mark lying dead on the floor with a gun next to him. I was frightened. I didn't know what to do. I just ran.
I just ran to my car. I vaguely remember seeing a couple of women there, but I just ran. I drove home and I tried to forget the whole thing. And then the police came a few hours later.
Look, the police say you ran because you killed him.
I don't care what the police said. I didn't kill Mark.
All right. Have you given your statement to them yet?
No, they said they wanted me to wait until I had an attorney.
Well, if you want one, you got one.
Mr. Petrocelli, I do need your help. But I want to know that you believe I didn't kill him.
I do believe you, all right. Now, it's my job to make a jury believe you didn't do it.
We'll make a statement at the appropriate time. I'm sorry, I'm sorry, Mary.
Hey, Frank, I'm impressed. You finally got your own program, huh?
Still just serving the people. We locking horns again?
Well, it looks that way. Yeah, I'm representing Emily Burke.
She's a nice lady, Tony, but we got her dead to rights.
No, Frank, the only thing you've got is a lady who was at the wrong place at the wrong time. As a matter of fact, according to the police report, they don't even have fingerprints on the murder weapon.
True, but we got just about everything else to make a case of murder one.
Yeah, like what?
Well, premeditation for starters.
Frank, this is the first time Emily had seen him in years.
Second time. The first time was the night before the murder. They were at a local restaurant having a very loud argument during which your client threatened to kill the man.
What?
She didn't tell you that, huh?
Well, it doesn't matter. What was the argument about?
Well, Orland handed her some papers which she read, and she got very angry. We couldn't quite piece it together until now. Here, read this.
Emily Burke, Jim Eberly, John Miller. Emily Burke, the high school swinger? What? You gotta be kidding. What are you talking about?
Orland planned to bring up a part of her life she'd long since buried, Tony. She had a lot to lose. She was here, she was seen, and there's no one else around. I have no other way to go with this one, Tony. Well, see ya.
Yeah, Frank.
I suppose you want copies of these?
You can make book on that. Hey, Jim Eberly?
Yeah.
How you doing? I'm, Tony Petrocelli. I, didn't recognize you without your helmet on.
It's the mustache.
Well, I'm a pretty big fan of yours. You're quite a ball player.
Well, look, if you want an autograph, just say so. I'm kind of busy right now.
Well, no, not actually. I really wanted to ask you a few questions. You see, I'm defending Emily Burke.
Who's that?
She's a lady accused of murdering Mark Orland.
Orland was pretty loose with a lot of people's lives.
Including yours. See, I've read the pages, and it's not gonna do you much good.
Okay. All right. What do you want?
Well, I just really want to know where you were at the time of the murder.
I was with a couple of my buddies drinking beer.
Can you prove it?
If I have to.
Well, you may have to, yeah.
Well, now, you listen to me, buddy. Nobody ever gave me anything. I busted my butt to get where I am. And believe me, it cost me plenty. You see that knee? You know, it's distorted. I've had surgery on it 3 times. And the doctors say I could end up a cripple.
Why don't you stop?
No way. I figure another couple of years with the commercials, the talk shows, all that. I got it made for life. And to me, that's worth the chance. Maybe after that, a color man on TV games.
And Orland could have ruined all that.
Yeah, I guess so. You read the pages. He was going to call me a homosexual. Well, that's not the truth, but that doesn't matter. People believe what they read, and a lot of people would be nervous around me.
Did you go to see him?
Nope. I know him. Nothing he'd like better to see me squirm. Well, I don't have to worry about any of it anymore.
Not as long as that book doesn't come up in evidence.
I wouldn't want that to happen.
I wouldn't want that either, but it's going to help my client. I'm afraid I'm going to have to. Sorry.
Come on, come on, let's go.
Look, I understand why he didn't tell me what he had written about, and I can't blame your reaction to that. But don't you understand what that does for the prosecution? It gives them a tie and it gives them a motive. Now, I've got to know what happened between you two.
Well, the part about his calling was the truth. But he wanted me to meet him for a drink.
Okay, which you did.
Tell you the truth, I was kind of excited. Seeing him after all this time, you know. My famous friend, Mark Orland. I got all dressed up and went to meet him.
Okay. Then he told you about the book.
He told me I was going to be a part of it. Then I read the pages. They were awful. It didn't happen like that at all.
What, were they lies?
No, not exactly. It just didn't happen like that. You see, when I was going to school, I wasn't the prettiest girl by a long shot. And for a while, I thought I'd try to be popular. There were 3 boys it happened with.
That's what he wrote about?
with more. See, it's the funny thing about the male ego. I guess the other boys I went out with after that had heard what I had done, and they had to pretend that it had happened with them, too.
You know, I understand. I mean, people can be cruel at that age.
At any age.
I'll go on.
Anyway, the whole thing was just forgotten after a while.
Until Mark showed up.
Mr. Petrocelli, I guess you know my husband doesn't know anything about this.
Well, I wouldn't expect him to. It happened many years before you met him. Okay, let's get back to the day of the murder.
Well, after Mark showed me the pages, we had an awful argument. I begged him not to use them.
Now, witnesses said that you threatened to kill him.
Oh, no. Oh, I don't think so. I'm not sure what I said, but I didn't mean it like that.
Then why did you go to see him the next day at his home?
Because I had to try to make him change his mind. Mr. Petrocelli, will any of this come out in court? You know what it would do to my family.
Yeah, I know what it'll do to them, but I can't promise you anything. I'll be back to see you soon.
Tony?
Hi, honey. How are you?
How'd it go with Emily?
Not too good. She's hurting, honey. I can't blame her. Listen, have you and Pete read the rest of Orland's 6-page wonders?
Yeah, we did. And it's pretty awful what he was trying to do to those people, playing God with their lives. I mean, a man like Jim Eberly, a sports hero, professional athlete. Can you imagine what it would do to him being called a homosexual?
Tony, I know John Miller. He's a good cop and a good family man. All that writing about him fathering an illegitimate child could wipe out a whole heck of a lot for him.
See, they all had reason not to want to have that book published.
Let me talk to John.
Yeah, sure thing, Pete. Then I want you to do some digging on Mark Orland's past, Pete, huh? And I mean everything, okay? Huh?
You bet.
Okay,
See you
thanks,
later.
Pete. Honey, I want you to get a hold of all of Orland's books, huh? Seems like, he's dragged a lot of people's private lives in the public. A guy like that must have a lot of enemies.
I've already read most of his books.
Oh, yeah? Good? Yeah, that's what I heard. Listen, I'll drop you at the office.
Are you all right?
Yeah. You know, honey, I don't know. Sometimes, I guess this just becomes a lousy job. You have to ask people things that happened to them a long time ago, like Emily. She has to tell you things that she shouldn't have to tell anyone. I guess that hurt her, and I don't know. Maybe it hurt me, too.
Hey.
Hmm?
You know something?
What?
What hurts you makes you beautiful.
Hey, get over here.
What will people think?
They'll all wish they were me. Are you kidding?
Yes.
Mrs. Orland, I'm Tony Petrocelli. I phoned you before and told you I was coming over to see you.
I'm not Mrs. Orland. I'm a friend. She's in back. Won't you come in, please?
Thank you.
Eve, this is Mr. Petrocelli.
Mr. Petrocelli.
I'll be leaving. See you in the morning.
Thank you for everything, Ellen. Mr. Petrocelli, this is Frank Wilson, our attorney.
How do you do?
Bill Whitehead. Bill worked very closely with Mark.
Mr. Petrocelli.
It's Whitehead.
We've got to be going, Eve. If there's anything you need, call.
Thank you both.
Bye-bye.
Have a chair?
Thank you.
Well, Mr. Petrocelli, what is it you want from me?
Well, first, I want to thank you very much for seeing me. I realize this is an imposition upon you.
Well, I only agreed to see you because I wanted to ask you a question.
Well, certainly.
Did she kill Mark because of his book?
No, she didn't.
Then why?
Actually, she didn't kill him at all.
Mr. Petrocelli, I saw her running from the house.
Now, I realize she was here, but that doesn't mean that she killed him.
I just can't believe that.
Hardly anyone can.
But you do.
Yes, I think so.
Why? Because she's your client?
Mrs. Orland, you know, I came here to ask you some questions, and it looks to me that the shoe is on the other foot.
All right. I'll tell you whatever I can.
Fine. Look, is there anyone from your husband's past, anybody they'd ever written about that would want to see him dead?
I'm sure there were. But I don't really think that's what happened.
What'd you think about his book, the one he just started?
I thought it was cruel. I mean, it's one thing to write about personalities, people whose lives are public by definition, but to hurt the people that you grew up with, I just couldn't understand that.
Neither could someone else, apparently. Now, is there something else you can add about that day?
I don't think so. That's what I told the police.
Well, thank you very much. Oh, yes, just one more thing. Now that your husband's gone, what happens to all this?
Well, I suppose it's all over. Living well and having money are two different things. I mean, Mark and I always lived very high, because we always knew there was going to be another book. If there's nothing else, Mr. Petrocelli,
Well, thank you for your time. Hi, honey.
Hi.
How's the reading coming?
They don't do things like this in Marshall, Texas.
They don't do things like that anywhere, I don't think. Listen, I've got the number of the Wexler Bottling Company, huh? Get them for me, will you?
Is this a new client?
No, it's my old root beer.
Hello, is this the Wexler Bottling Company? May I speak with Mr. Wexler? It is. Tony, they're on. It's Mr. Wexler himself.
Oh, okay, thanks, honey. Yeah, hello, Mr. Wexler. This is Tony Petrocelli. Well, I'm a customer of yours. I just want to tell you that I've been drinking your root beer since I was a kid. Why? Because I love your root beer. You hate it. Well, I don't quite understand, Mr. Wexler. Oh, I see. You make it, but you hate it. Now I understand. Listen, Mr. Wexler, I understand that you're going out of business, so I would like to buy whatever you have left in stock. Wholesale? Well, that's terrific. Thanks, Mr. Wexler. Right, you just sent it in COD, huh? Yeah, on care of Phil's Bottling Company in San Remo. Yeah, he'll see that I get it. Well, thank you. Righto. How do you like that? He's gonna send me all the stock that he has left.
Did he say how much that was?
No, I mean, you couldn't have too many cases left there. Honey, by the way, have you seen the police report?
Mm-hmm.
Bullet had scratches on it.
Yeah, well, maybe it bounced off of a bone or something.
Yeah, well, it might have. I think we better get a copy of the coroner's report just in case, huh?
Someone I want you to meet, Mr. John Wells. He's Orland's publisher. Tony, Maggie Petrocelli. He's in town for Orland's funeral.
Mr. Wells? Something you wanted to tell me?
Well, yes, there seems to be some confusion as to what Mark's book was about.
Confusion?
Yes, you see, Mark decided to stop writing fiction. He wasn't writing the book everyone seemed to believe he was writing.
What?
He was writing a book about the average person's reactions when something from their past, something hidden, came up to confront them.
Wait a second. Are you trying to tell me that all the pages that he sent to those people were not going to be used in a book at all?
No, he was using those to test the reactions of the people he sent them to.
I think that's terrible.
So do I, Mrs. Petrocelli. Had we known what he intended, I assure you we wouldn't have gone ahead with the book.
Well, thank you, Mr. Wells.
Have I helped you any?
I don't know yet. Thanks again, huh? Now I've heard it all.
Tony, if there was no book, doesn't that kind of wipe out all motives for wanting him dead?
No, not really. As long as those people thought there was a book, and they all still had a motive.
Take it slowly. There's only a few left.
Oh, thanks, baby.
You know, I've been thinking about how vicious Mark Orland was. To use people like that just for a book?
Mm-hmm. You know what I've been thinking about?
What?
Meatballs.
Meatballs?
I woke up this morning hungry for meatballs.
For breakfast?
No, not for breakfast. Maybe later, though, huh?
Oh, I'll tell you what. Why don't I make some for you tomorrow night?
Why not today?
Well, you don't just make meatballs. You have to buy the meat, have it ground, saute everything, make a sauce, simmer it.
I don't know, honey. I remember when I was a kid that my mama used to just whip them up in 10 minutes.
Oh, she did?
Yeah.
Morning.
Hi.
Hi, Pete.
I found out a few things about Bill Whitehead.
Yeah, such as?
Well, he's worked for Orland for about 5 years.
Yeah, doing what?
He ran interference for him. He took care of the squawks from people that didn't like what Orland wrote about him.
Must have kept him pretty busy.
He moved out with him. He bought a place a couple miles from Orland's.
Oh, is that all?
No. Whitehead bought a gun when he moved out from the east.
How about that?
Well, it isn't a murder weapon, but he's got it.
Pete, what about your friend, John Miller? Did you speak to him yet?
Well, no. I guess I've been stalling. I'll get right on it. I'll see you later.
Oh, I know how he feels. Just not easy.
You are supposed to see Frank Kaiser in 15 minutes.
Oh, if I hurry, I'll be 20 minutes late, okay? Oh, and don't forget the meatballs.
Hey, John. Pete, what are you doing down here? I never expected to see you hanging around the station again. You miss the old days?
No, I can't say I do. We did have some interesting times, though.
We did that.
I made a trip down here to talk to you, John.
Oh, what about?
Mark Orland's death.
You know about that chapter he wrote on me?
Yeah, I read a copy of it. I know what he was doing to you and several other people.
You might as well know the whole of it, Pete. Mostly what he wrote was the truth. A long time ago, before I was a cop, before I was married, I fathered his child.
Did you tell Betty?
No, I never told her about it. And the kids don't know about it either. It was 18 years ago, Pete. And all of a sudden, this Orland thing. You know what that book means to my family, to my marriage? Can you imagine what it'd mean to that boy? All of a sudden, it's in print that he's an illegitimate child.
None of that was gonna happen, John. Seems there wasn't any such book. Orland was just playing a lousy trick on a bunch of people just to see what their reaction was gonna be.
Well, I guess that's some consolation, but the department's got copies of those pages, too, you know.
John, you've been too good a cop for too many years for that to matter. Would you answer a question for me?
Sure.
Where were you when Mark Orland was killed?
I was off duty alone. Betty and the kids were up in the mountains for a few days. I know. I got no alibi. I didn't do it, though, Pete. I thought about it, but I didn't do it.
I'm happy to hear you say that, John. You take it easy. I'll see you soon.
Good to see you, Pete.
Say hello to Betty.
I'll do that.
Well, at least your game's getting better, Frank.
Just more than I can say for your case.
Ah, come on, will you? Emily went there to plead with him not to kill him. No proof it was her gun. Without her prints on it, you haven't got a case.
Oh, come on, Tony. There's a million unregistered guns. Anybody can get a gun if they want to.
Yeah, but Emily Burke didn't.
Listen, I'm gonna let you in on our case.
Yeah.
Because I would hate to see you step into a bad one.
Oh, I bet.
Well, first of all, Emily Burke was afraid that if the book got published, something might happen. So she decided to try and convince him once again not to go ahead with it.
Emily,
I want to talk with you.
I don't think there's anything more to talk about.
You at least owe me the courtesy of talking with me.
All right, come on in the den. Would you like a drink? It'll do you some good.
No.
Emily, I'm not pulling the pages out of the book. Everything I... Now, you don't intend to use that.
Why won't you stop?
It's too bad, Tony. She seems like a nice lady, but she's guilty.
No, not quite. You see, she wasn't even in the study when the shot was fired.
Look, the police checked the whole house. All the windows and doors were bolted shut from the inside. If anybody else happened to be in the house, they would have had to pass Mrs. Orland and Mrs. Harris to get out. And it just didn't happen that way. No, I'm afraid you're not going to turn this one about, Tony.
Well, Frank, I'm going to give it one hell of a try.
This is for your mouth.
Oh.
And this is for your stomach.
Oh, lunch?
Mm-hmm.
Well, what is it?
Well, it's just what you wanted.
Well, thanks. That's terrific.
Pete stopped by the office.
Yeah.
He talked to John Miller, and he doesn't have an alibi.
Yeah, but Pete thinks he didn't do it.
That's right. But there are a couple of other things. You've heard of a marriage contract?
Yeah, what?
Well, that's what the Orlands signed before they got married, apparently at his insistence.
Well, what did it say?
Well, the main thing was they agreed to no community property.
Oh, which means if they get divorced and she can't collect anything.
That's
from her,
right.
Huh? Oh.
Tony Petrocelli.
No, I'm only kidding on it.
Well, anyways, it turns out Orland was doing research on another book about how the syndicate invests its money in legitimate business, and Max Franklin was the central character.
You mean at Max's Sportswear?
The same. Worth a visit?
Yeah, right after lunch.
Well, look, I have to go back to the office. Have a nice lunch.
Okay, sweetie, I'll talk to you later. Here's your 10-minute meatballs. Maybe I shouldn't have ever mentioned Mama, huh?
Keep the change. I'll see you girls later. I think I'll go for a walk and work off some of these calories. Tell them I'll be back in about an hour.
Thank you for the lunch, Mr. Franklin.
Max, just look good on the clothes, girls. That's all I ask.
Okay. See you later.
Franklin? Hi, sir. I'm Tony Petrocelli and Emily Burke's attorney.
Oh, yes, the Mark Orland murder case. Well, what do you want from me?
Well, I understand that Orland is going to do a book about you. How you gave up the numbers racket in Jersey and bought into a sportswear company.
Didn't buy into any sportswear company. I own it.
See, what about the book?
I heard about it. Didn't bother me any. In fact, I was sort of looking forward to it. Even my daughters thought it was a great idea. I'm clean, and I'm legitimate. Whatever he wrote about me in that book had to be rumors and secondhand ifs or maybes. You're a lawyer. You know about hearsay. Doesn't count for anything unless you can prove it.
Well, maybe not in court, Mr. Franklin, but a lot of people would, might not like buying from people with your background, you see. It could hurt your business kind of badly, I'd say. Especially some people might think it's one hell of a motive for murder.
Now, you listen here, Mr. Petrocelli. I've paid my dues. I got a son dead in the war. I worked till midnight every night trying to build something permanent for my family. For me to commit murder at 63 years old is to deny myself the very peace of mind I worked so hard to find.
I'm sorry about your son, Mr. Franklin. I truly am. But I can't bleed for you. There are too many people that have been hurt by you and people like you.
I think our talk is over.
No, not quite, Mr. Franklin. You see, if I find any connection between Mark Orland's murder and you, believe me, I'll have you in court faster than you can make another speech about the pain and suffering of your last 63 years.
Mr. Petrocelli. Bill Whitehead, Mr. Orland's friend.
Oh, yeah, sure. How are you?
Fine. Catching up on your reading?
Well, just looking at the suspects, a couple of Orland's books. He didn't care much who he hurt, did he?
He didn't care much about anything except his books.
Well, you worked for him.
We can't always do what we want to do.
No, I suppose not. I guess Mrs. Orland didn't want to sign that marriage contract either, huh?
I guess the contract is common knowledge. I don't think she minded signing it. She married him because she loved him, not because he had money.
What did he love?
Now, what do you mean by that?
Well, a man that loves his wife isn't afraid of divorce before he gets married.
Well, all that doesn't matter much now, does it?
Well, except to Orland. I understand that you arrived shortly after the police.
Yeah, that's right. Eve called me right after she called the police. She told me what happened and asked me to come over. She said she was all alone.
What happened to the lady that was with her when she found the body?
I don't know. I think Eve asked her to leave her alone with Mark for a little while.
Well, I guess that if you were home when she found the body, you certainly weren't there when he was killed, were you?
What does that mean?
Just that Emily Burke didn't do it. I guess I better find out who did. Thanks for your time. I'll see you around. Honey, I forgot to thank you for the meatballs yesterday.
Did you enjoy them?
Yeah, you forgot the can opener.
Well, I'll try and do better next time.
Hey.
I just have a hunch that some guy who owns a sportswear company doesn't like me asking too many questions about him, that's all. Come here. Let's go home, baby. I just can't come up with an answer, honey, see? Oh, that feels good.
How about some coffee?
Yeah.
Do you think Emily Burke could be lying?
Mm-mm. Oh! Maggie?
Good morning.
Tony?
How about some coffee?
Thank you. I sure could use it. Okay, Pete, what do you got? I talked to ballistics. There are a couple ways a scratch could have got on that bullet.
Yeah, like what?
Like if it hit a bone or if it went through a crude homemade type silencer.
Yeah, but we know of 3 people who heard the shot. Eve Orland, Ellen Harrison, and Emily.
See, honey, that's exactly what's wrong.
I don't follow you.
Look, honey, I want you to get a court order and check out some records of a telephone company, huh? Pete, I want you to check out the gun and sporting goods stores around town. Then I want you to get in touch with the publisher, John Wells. If I'm right, I have the feeling that we may be able to write a happy ending to the Emily Burke story yet.
Mr. Janoski, this is the bullet taken from the body of the deceased, marked States Exhibit B. Now, according to your ballistic tests, did this bullet come from the gun marked States Exhibit A, the murder weapon?
Yes, without question.
Your witness?
Mr. Janoski, according to your report, there was a scratch on the bullet. Is that correct?
Yes.
Now, it's my understanding that such marks appear if a bullet ricochets or hits a bone, or if a bullet passes through a crude silencer. Is that correct?
Yes.
Now, according to the coroner's report, the bullet didn't hit any bone. So, in your expert opinion, is it safe to assume that a silencer was used?
In my opinion, yes.
Thank you, Mr. Janoski. No further questions.
Redirect, Mr. Kaiser?
Mr. Janoski, most silencers are easily removed and could be concealed in a purse. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. No further questions.
You may step down, Mr. Janoski.
That concludes the case for the state, Your Honor.
Very well. Mr. Petrocelli, are you ready to proceed?
Yes, I am, Your Honor. The defense calls Mrs. Eve Orland to the stand. So when you saw your husband, you asked your friend to call the police.
That's right.
And your request, then she left.
Yes.
And soon afterwards, you called Bill Whitehead.
Yes. Bill had been a close friend of Mark's, and I thought he could help.
Of course. Now, one more thing about the marriage contract. Now, you did inherit when he died.
So?
So he's worth a lot more to you dead than he was divorced.
Hardly. His estate will barely cover the bills.
Oh, really? Oh, no more questions. Thank you. So with Mr. Orland's death, all income for his heirs would end, no?
No, it would not.
Well, I don't understand. I mean, he surely can't write anymore.
Yes, but there are his royalties, which will go to his heirs for the length of the copyright.
Really? Could you give me a top-of-the-head guess as to what the royalties on his books might be?
I would say the next few years will amount to easily $500,000.
$500,000? Well, that certainly would pay some of the bills, wouldn't it? Thank you. No further questions.
Mr. Kaiser?
No questions, Your Honor.
Witness is excused.
Tell me, Mr. Whitehead, was it difficult working for Mark Orland?
Sometimes.
Now, you took all the heat, complaints, and problems.
Yes.
Did he pay well?
Fair?
Well, what's fair? 30,000? 20? No. You mean to tell me with all the money that he made, with all that you did for him, that he paid you less than $500 a week?
Yes, but
Well, didn't it bother you living in the shadows, seeing what he had?
Well, of course not.
Not at all? No. Well, you're a better man than most. I understand that you purchased a gun back east.
Yes.
Why?
Protection.
And you brought it with you to San Remo?
Yes.
For protection?
Of course.
Of course. Then if you purchased a gun, you also purchased bullets.
Well, I bought those at the same time.
Still for protection?
Yes.
What were you doing with blanks?
What?
Well, it seems that on the day of the murder, you purchased a box of blanks at a local sports store.
Well, yes, the real bullets made me nervous. I thought if I ever did fire, whoever it was would think it was a live bullet, you see.
Wouldn't they, though? Your Honor, everyone is under the assumption that there was one gun and one gunshot fired at the murder of Mark Orland. But in fact, I believe that there were two guns and two gunshots fired that day. With the court's permission, I'd like to take you back to the Orland house late that afternoon. While Mark Orland was busy working on his story in the study, Bill White had entered the house through the front door, which Eve Orland had left open for him. He walked to the study and attached a crudely made silencer to the gun. His intent all along was to murder Mark Orland.
Hello, Mark.
Oh, hi, Bill. I wasn't expecting you.
Waiting for the right moment, he shot Orland using the gun that was found at the scene later on, with the silencer that successfully muffled the sound. He then removed the silencer, put it into his pocket, wiped his prints from the gun, and tossed it next to Orland's body. The stage being set, he then left the study, which is when Emily Burke, not knowing of the murder, arrived at the house looking for Mark Orland. Meanwhile, Bill Whitehead, carrying out his plan, loaded his own gun with blanks, which he had purchased here in San Remo. Not realizing Emily Burke had entered the house, he awaited Eve Orland's arranged return with Ellen Harrison, who was an unknowing eyewitness, to give Eve Orland an alibi.
Oh, no. Oh, God. Ellen, call the police.
After they saw the body and called the police, Eve told Ellen she could go home. And after Ellen Harrison left as planned, Eve could let Bill Whitehead out of the house with no one there to see him.
Better hurry, Bill.
Are you gonna be all right, Eve?
Sure, I'll be fine.
two persons to whom Mark Orland was worth more dead than alive. I'm sure their original plan was a murder by person or persons unknown. But Emily Burke stumbled in at the wrong time and became a perfect patsy for the crime.
That's ridiculous. I told you that I was at home when she phoned and told me. I didn't even know about it till then.
Yeah, so you said. Your Honor, I have here a notarized copy of the telephone company records for the Orland house that day. Now, Mr. Whitehead lives outside their area zone. Every call outside that area zone is listed by number and time of call. Now, there are many calls listed that day. There was a call to the police department listed. There was no call to Mr. Whitehead. The only way that he could have shown up at the house, knowing about the murder, was to have committed it himself. In view of that, Your Honor, I request that the charges against my client be dismissed.
Hi, Kelly. Oh, hi, Tony. The office was locked, so I put all the stuff inside your trailer. Left the bill.
Well, thanks. We just about ran out.
Sure hope you're thirsty.
Tony?
He said he only had a few cases left.
Well, to a bottler, I guess 530 cases is a few. Oh, Tony, we can't even get into the bedroom.
Yeah, not to mention anywhere else.
530 cases?
At least.
Oh, what are we gonna do?
Pray for a heat wave.